Welcome to the madhouse.
Right, first of all, let me apologise in advance for if I eat during this entire video, but I've just, but 2 hours ago I went to the dentist and my face has just started to get the feeling back in it again, so, and they say don't eat anything until your face is back to normal, so, yeah, I might be eating all the way through this video, to which I apologise. I'm going to start now. Because they're very addictive, I've got these like cheesy nibble things, very addictive. Anyway. Book review time. This is a book I've been reading for a while now. The reason I've been reading it for a while is it took me a while to get into, but once you do get into it, it's very easy to read. It is 1984 by George Orwell, the definitive dystopian novel. Of course, inspired many great novels in the future, and also many great films. It inspired Brazil. In fact, the original title for Brazil was going to be 1984 and a half, because it was going to be because that's all Brazil basically is a parody of this, a satirical version of this. It just didn't have Big Brother in it. Yeah, that's another thing. Also inspired the TV show Big Brother. Was written in. I'm going to try and find out when it was written. Blah 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 blah. Nineteen 1949 it was written, and basically it predicted that in 1984, well, in the future, but 1984 in specific, but in the future at least, the entire world would be ran by computers. And how right he was. They can sort of find you. Talked about this, sorry. But yeah, written by George Orwell, aka Eric Arthur Blair. That's his real name. This was a very boring introduction by Thomas Pynchon. If you get this, don't read the introduction because it's dull. But it hasn't been rewritten in any way. The actual story hasn't been rewritten in any way. I love this cover as well. That's a great cover. Just the eye there. And I'll just read to you what it says on the back, because it's kind of a hard one to explain. It says, hidden away in the records department of the sprawling Ministry of Truth, Winston Smith skillfully rewrites the past to suit the needs of the party. Yet he inwardly rebels against the totalitarian world in which he lives, which demands absolute obedience and controls him through the all-seeing telescreens and the watchful eye of Big Brother, symbolic head of the party. In his longing for the truth and liberty, Smith begins a secret love affair with a fellow worker, Julia, who is a great character, and discovers the true price of freedom and betrayal. Yeah, this is one of those books that you see a lot with books and films, where they sort of shift through genre. You can't really pin them down to one genre. On the one hand, it's a sci-fi, because it's in the dystopia. It's got some funny moments in it. It's quite a satirical novel. It's quite funny at some points. It has a love story, and it's also quite spooky. It's quite creepy at some points, so it could be classed as a horror as well. So it's a sci-fi, romantic comedy, horror, satire, dystopian, adventure, action novel, blah, 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 whatever. And a prediction of the future. There's a picture of George Orwell. Really, really good. It's in 3 parts. Each part has roughly the first 2 parts. The first part I think has 9 chapters. The second part has 10, and the third one has 6. And then there's the appendix at the back, in which George Orwell talks about newspeak, which is the official language of Oceania, which is where the novel is set. In the future, there are 3 continents: Oceania, East Asia, and Eurasia, and they keep changing which side they're at war with. But yeah, so 1984 is a real good read. Quite difficult to get into. It's But the thing I really love about this is the fact that Winston Smith seems like an ordinary person. You know, in too many of these novels, there are people who have like proper big jobs. Like if you read like a lot of these crime novels or whatever, you have the action. LAPD guy, and if you read like a lot of sci-fi, they're usually like doctors and mad scientists. But in this, Winston Smith is just an ordinary bloke. And Julia, the younger woman, falls in love with him, which, cha-ching, get in there. But it all ends in tears and disaster. And it's a really good book. It's a good read if you pick it up. It's pretty cheap off the internet. It's pretty cheap off Amazon. But yeah, I'd recommend you pick up 1984, and I will give it 5 stars. And I will give it 4 stars because it's kind of difficult to get into, but once you do, it's a fantastic read. So, 1984, 4 stars.